says of the early disciples in the book of Acts, and I know you know it, but just meditate on it. Just think about how they were being beaten with stripes. They were being utterly shamed and physically beaten and tortured with stripes. They were just rejoicing to suffer shame for his name's sake. They were so enamored by and mesmerized by and astonished by his love for them, that he was with them, that who he was and the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ, that they're rejoicing to suffer fearsome pain for the sake of Christ and shame at the same time. They thought themselves unworthy, brethren. And it is true. It says in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, it is true that as our tribulation increases, so will and doth our comfort by the Spirit of God, so doth our consolation, if you are keeping yourself in his love and remembering his love and looking unto him. Or you likely won't even suffer tribulation, because you'll fall away before you do. It's that important. Your heart before God, keeping it with all diligence, proud of your heart of the issues of life. It says of Jacob that he thought all the suffering for Rachel, his wife, through Laban and all of Laban's evil ways, all of his suffering for many years, 7 years, to marry Rachel, seemed to him but a few days for the love that he had for her. Truly, tribulation is fierce, and it's unthinkable. Men's hearts are going to be melted with fear. Look at those things that are coming upon the earth, and many times I have just sat in the darkness of night at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock at night, and I've just stood there speechless, trembling at what's coming for the last 10 years. Many times. But I know, brethren, I know that if you love God with all of your heart, if you keep your heart toward Jesus Christ, if you keep your heart every single day, brethren, if you keep yourself in the love of God, like it says in Jude chapter 1, built up in your most holy faith, praying in the Holy Ghost, I know that you will stand, and you will do the will of God, and you will be able to endure unto the end in the faith, once delivered to the saints. The Lord is saying that. That's why he's owning Song of Solomon. Again, 8, 6 through 7. That's why he's giving us all these songs. He knows this. If you do not have this, then you're not going to stand. Even if you understand doctrinally what's coming upon this earth. And you must understand it. It is absolutely essential that you do. Notwithstanding, if you do not love the Lord and keep your heart and learn to keep your heart, loving out with all of your heart and being filled every day with love for God, with the Spirit of God, then your candle's going to go out. Your candle's going to go out. You're going to get offended. You're going to get offended. And you're going to hate one another. You're going to be offended at the saints of God because you're really offended at the Lord. And many shall betray one another and be offended and shall hate one another. They lost their hearts. They forgot this vision of who he is, of his sovereign mercy, of his sovereign grace in their lives, of how he committed his love toward them. Undeniably, in that when they were sinners, he died for them and he saved them when they deserve to be in hell. They don't deserve mercy. They take their eyes off of that and they don't remember that. And they get offended at the cross. They get offended at the suffering. They get offended at the persecution. So they think, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. It's not true. I was reading today about the Apostle Paul. I was reading the book of Acts, just some of the last chapter in the book of Acts, about Acts 22 or 23 through Acts 28. And I was astonished. And I was convicted. He was faithful servant. I want to be faithful like him. A steward must be found faithful. He was so faithful to the Lord in the most high-pressure situations of much suffering and much seriousness, fearfulness. And every time, the Apostle Paul generally, he wasn't perfect, but generally he stood and the burden of God was fulfilled. And the Lord was with him. And he was with the Lord. So he was just keeping his eyes upon the Lord, keeping his heart set upon the Lord. And God was having his way. God was having his way. Truly, he was just vertically minded all the way. His eyes were upon Christ. He was remembering his identity in Christ, that he is dead, and his life is with Christ in God. And he was remembering that he deserves to be in hell. Chief of all sinners. Just being filled with the love of God every day. Much of those times, many of those years, he's in prison for years. For years in Caesarea. For 2 years he's in prison. He's in Rome. For 2 years with that private soldier, that soldier of Rome, watching over him, private guard. And then later on after that, he was in prison, I believe, most of the rest of the time of his life. And every day, I'm certain, every day, and every night, He was mortifying his members upon the earth. He was mortifying his vile body of death. And he was setting, Lord, as a seal upon his heart unto the death. I know that he was. And that's how he was standing. So he was ready against all opposition. He was ready against all adversaries. He was ready against whatever would happen to him because he was full of the Holy Ghost and faith and love for God, like Stephen the martyr before he died. Stephen the martyr was so grieved at all the hypocrisy and wickedness and the evil that was going on. And he stood against it and he rebuked them to their face without any fear. And he saw the glory of God, and he saw Jesus Christ at the right hand of the throne of God, and he stood. He stood, prototype martyr. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. Amen. I have decided follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back. The cross before me, the world behind me. The cross before me, the world behind me. Bless you, Lord. The cross before me, hallelujah. The world behind me. No turning back. Hallelujah. No turning back. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. No turning back. No turning back. Praise you, Lord. Praise you, Lord. Hallelujah.